Go. Good afternoon, Crimson Tide and SEC Nation, and welcome to the first ever edition of Crimson Tide Live, right here on Alabama Football, The Voice of College Football, and SEC Football, The Voice of College Football, as Johnny Burtz and I bring you the latest news and notes on the Alabama Crimson Tide, all right here, including our take on Kalen DeBoer's debut this upcoming Saturday, our take on Nick Saban's debut on College Game Day and what it's going to be like without him in Tuscaloosa, and much, much more. And I'm going to tell you right now, you'll be in for a wild ride. And we got a wild comment section this afternoon. We got a What's Up Crimson Tide Nation, SC Nation, and our buddy John D'Animo at Michigan Football, The Voice of College Football, say, let's go. And he's telling everybody, tell your friends, neighbors, at the cashier at Publix that the debut of Alabama Crimson Tide Live is a few minutes away. Share this link. Hit that like button. Absolutely. Like, comment, subscribe so you do not miss another video whatsoever. And of course, like, comment, subscribe to SEC at the Voice of College Football, as it is 26 subs away from 1,000. Let's get it there. How you doing today, Johnny?
Doing well. I'm on the road. For the audience, I'm a retired educator, coach, and I'm in Lynette, Alabama, which is about on the Georgia border near LaGrange, Georgia, Auburn. And I do a lot of traveling. I do a lot of work with regard to teaching the students the ins and outs and the method to the madness of the ACT. So tomorrow I'll be at Lynette High School and we'll go through the ACT and I'll be back and forth. So you'll realize I'm on the road a little bit. So behind me is my bed. I made it just for you. So I'm on the road.
Well, as this episode is titled, it's the beginning of the new era. It's the first time since the 2006 Independence Bowl that we don't see Nick Saban on the sidelines. What's the feeling like in Tuscaloosa?
Well, the buzz is, it's a good feeling and everybody's excited, but proof's in the pudding. We'll see what type of team goes out there and plays, against, our opponents. And I've said this before. I think Kalen DeBoer is a great coach. The record speaks of itself, and I think he'll put a very good product on the field, and time will tell. It's just wait and see right now.
Yeah, and we also saw him debuting on College Game Day this Saturday, and it's the first time we've seen him not coaching in like ever. Well, at least in my lifetime, it's like ever, but it's it kind of feels that way. It just feels weird not seeing Coach Saban on the sidelines. It's like I see Coach Saban in a suit and tie. It's like, is he at the SEC Media Days? Oh no, he's at ESPN now.
Yeah, totally different. I don't know. I was excited about it, and then I watched him, and I was kind of, I don't know, I was kind of confused if he was really excited about being there, because I don't know how many people watched it, but I kept seeing him with his arms crossed, across his chest and everything, and it was, you know what that is. That's a symbol you don't want to be there. So I don't know, but everything, what he said, I loved it when they went through the college, the breakdown of predictions and stuff like that. And I liked his insight, because I'd be surprised if there were very many out there today that knew more about football than Nick Saban and knew more about how to predict a season and predict talent and things, and and coaches and how they bring it together and all of that and everything. But I was kind of, it was good, and then it was just kind of I wasn't sure if he was excited about being there, if that was really where he wanted to be, or if that was really what he wanted to be doing. I don't know. When I saw that, I was like,
Basically, it was kind of like Dante on Clerks, where he just had that "I'm not even supposed to be here today" attitude.
Exactly. And I'm not sure he's comfortable with making predictions. I don't know. When you're a coach, all you think about is your team. Well, I'm not saying I say that. I don't mean it totally that way, but you're more worried about your team than anybody else's, and you're focused on your team. And yeah, you're focused on your opponent, but in the grand scheme of what's going on I'm worried about what's going on in Tuscaloosa, what's going on in Alabama, and what's going on in the SEC and out west and all that kind of stuff. As a coach, you wouldn't pay too much attention to that. And so I can see where he would be more locked in with regard to what's going on in Alabama and the SEC, and making predictions about, Clemson and Washington and UCLA. I don't see, but I mean, it'll change over time. But the first time seeing him was different. It was totally different. And then also you saw where he was locked in on Georgia, and I'm sure that was kind of a lot of Alabama people were, kind of like, because everybody trusts in Alabama. You trust Saban and what he says, and if he's saying Georgia's this, then it makes you worry about Alabama. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Well, and also it's like some people tend to forget that Kirby was the right hand man, and if you think it's awkward now, wait until you see College Game Day go to Alabama, Wisconsin, or Alabama, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, or Alabama, Tennessee, and I got to tell you, it's gonna feel like seeing your ex-girlfriend at a pool party or at like a birthday party, and you're like, hey.
And College Game Day, we'll see what happens or whatever, but it'd be hard not to be College Game Day in Tuscaloosa versus Georgia. And then how they bring up the coaches and stuff like that, and Saban there with Kirby Smart, and it's Alabama, Georgia, and that first whatever, and are you going to get up there literally in Tuscaloosa and say, if they make predictions, Georgia's going to win? Ooh, I would not want to be in those shoes.
No, it's going to be really awkward, like especially for Saban when he sees all those players from last season.
Oh, totally. But it's a growing experience. It'll, in the end, we'll see what happens. But I can definitely tell you right now, he's very uncomfortable. But comfort will come with time, and then people will know where he's coming from. Saban's not going to tell you a lie. He's going to tell you the truth. If he thinks Georgia's better than Alabama, I want him to tell the truth. That's what I've learned about Saban, is the guy's going to get there and he's going to tell you the dang truth. And if you don't like it, tough. So I want it. I want that. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun.
For sure. And we got our friend, a car nurse, giving out a Roll Tide from Salt Lake City, Utah, by way of Sweet Home, Alabama.
I've been to Salt Lake City.
There we
Beautiful
go.
place. Been skiing out in Utah. Wonderful. Enjoyed it.
And we have our friend Sports Talk with Austin giving out a Roll Tide, and he wishes, and he says he's got a feeling College Game Day might be at a Bama games couple different times this year. Well, that's obvious, but maybe I'm just throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Well, tell Austin to predict which two games does Austin think they'll be in Tuscaloosa. Georgia's going to be one of them.
Off air from time to time, I'm just like, please don't make it Alabama LSU, because it's like Nick Saban's gone now. But maybe I'm just kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater about things being too awkward. Maybe it won't be.
It'll
be all right.
It's awkward to start with. It'll grow on us. We'll get used to it and everything. So, but yeah. I like people make their prediction. 2 College Game Days, which 2? Oklahoma.
And we have our good friend TJ Ronan, the co-host of Michigan Football at The Voice of College Football. Say Roll Tide, but as you know, it's always go blue. Oh man, TJ in the house. Oh man, if some of you are just tuning in, tune in Tuesday nights on Michigan Football at The Voice of College Football for Wolverines Live as TJ and John bring you the latest news and notes on the Michigan Wolverines. And of course, there's a Wolverines call-in show on Thursday nights. But there's something I'd like to tell everybody is to shop on Amazon as you can help the Voice of College Football. It doesn't cost you a penny. So you can get that same shopping experience. Let's help the Voice of College Football as much as possible by clicking on that link anytime we shop on Amazon. And we got Mark Rogers at the Voice of College Football saying Jackson and Johnny getting the job done. I appreciate it, man. And it's an honor doing the first edition of Crimson Tide Live and hopefully very many more. Thank you so much for this opportunity, man. And thank you, TJ. And speaking of Voice College Football, if you love top-notch exclusive live streams, watch parties, predictions, betting advice, and insider looks, go to patreon.com/MarkRogersTV or become a YouTube member at the Voice of College Football, including the $99 tier where you can see college football bets, where you will make, if you're a gambling person, especially on college football, you're going to want to look at the pits of Steve Merrill, Mark Rogers, Steve Nash from the Michigan Podcast, USC Footballs at the Voice of College Footballs, and Trojans Wire very own Matt Zimick, as they bring you some of the best predictions and picks in all of college football. You're not going to want to miss it, because I'm going to tell you right now, it's like making an investment in the future. I guarantee it. And you're going to want to look at the under-the-radar picks from Steve Merrill, including one last year from Appalachian State, Wyoming, where he got it right on the over-under. And I'll tell you right now, you're not going to want to underestimate Steve Merrill. He is a go-to. So stay tuned for those picks. Well, speaking of new things going around, especially new eras, we talked a little bit about the new rule changes, like off air and on air, as we were getting ready. What's your take on them, man?
Well, number one, the one that just jumps right out at me is the 2-minute, warning or rule, whatever they want to call it, where we have the pause and that kind of stuff. And all that is just get another deadgum commercial in. And why is it necessary? I mean, it's just taking the collegiate model and turning it, bringing in the professional model. And I don't see the need of it. I just think it just disrupts the rhythm of the game. Down south, I don't know. I'm sure they've got this saying everywhere, but down south, we say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So why these new rule changes? I have no idea. That one just kind of, I just think it just disrupts the flow. And now, they wanted to speed the game up. Well, there you go, right there. They're going to slow it down. The NCAA is just, all they're about now is corporate. It's all about making money. It's all, the dollars and the commercials and everything is just, it's insane. It's just, I just leave it alone. Just let everybody, now we have to adjust. Every season we're having to adjust some new whatever, and we shouldn't have to. Don't, slow the game down. The game's always been 3 to 4 hours. Who cares? Who cares? If you're a fan and you're in the stadium and it goes to overtime and it's a slow game, who cares? You're having a good time. You're with your own fan base, that kind of, everything's fine. The only thing about going to the game is getting home. I understand that aspect of it, traffic and those type of things, especially on the interstates. But I don't know. I think they just need to leave it alone. And then the 10-second, now they've got the 2-minute warning. They throw in the 10-second rule. are the the 10-second runoff. And so now it used to be under a minute. It was a 10-second runoff. When you intentionally grounded the ball and things like that to stop the clock 10 seconds. Now as soon as a 2-minute warning, now you got the 10-second runoff. And so it's going to be awful. Teams have already lost games because of the 10-second runoff rule.
Yeah.
I think it was Troy. I watched the game. It was Troy and was playing Arkansas State or somebody in there, and the game ended. I mean, there was no last play. It ended on a 10-second runoff because player, came up limp and all that kind of stuff, and the game ended because of that. And so these rule changes, I think they're all to the benefit of the almighty dollar. So that's just my take.
Man. Well, our buddy TJ agrees with us. He says, "Leave the game alone. It's football, man."
I know, and it's tradition. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, the game is the way it was. If it takes 3 hours, if it takes 4, who cares? I mean, literally, who cares?
Like one of the best days of my life was 2018, getting to go to the Iron Bowl and not knowing when Texas A&M LSU was going to end.
Exactly. And now, trying to shorten the game, but then you have overtime. Back in the old days, it was, end of the game, it was a tie. And what Coach Bryant said, a tie is like kissing your sister. And so now they've extended the game by overtime. Okay, well, whatever, but changing the rules in the whatever to shorten the game is. I mean, it's a bunch of malarkey. I mean, it's just them won't sell another commercial. I mean, there's too much money involved in college athletics.
Yeah. I mean, it's a load of horse dung is what it is.
Yeah, that's where it's turning into. I mean, that's what it's turning into. They just it's like the last 10, 15 years, every decision they make has been to the detriment of the game.
And
it hasn't improved the game.
And there's like this rule where you can't use a second timeout to ice the kicker. That's dumb.
Yeah, I mean, who cares? Second timeout, one timeout, two timeouts. Like the second timeout's going to do anything different? Give him longer to think about it. If he's a good kicker, he's going to kick it, and who cares? I don't know these brainiacs that they hire to go in there and tell us and make all these changes and blah blah blah. And it's just nothing.
Well, you're definitely not going to like it. You're definitely not going to like the new rules in the NFL for sure.
Yeah. And then I saw something today where Ohio State has this NIL, some whatever package that blah, blah, blah to distribute. And I mean, it's 20, 40, 50, I don't know how many millions of dollars. This is college football. These kids are 18, 19 years old. And now you're throwing all this money and it's all going to be just me. Everything they do now is just killing the sport, all for money.
Yeah,
they just can't leave it alone. Just leave it alone. There was nothing wrong the way it was.
Yeah, I was in like a Twitter space the other night where it's like I've heard like Oklahoma State fans saying we don't care about Oklahoma. They lift us. And I've heard like some Oklahoma fans go, we don't care. And like some of these teams are like, well, I don't care about this team. They're not our rival anymore. It's like, it's not about you. It's about your state. Good grief.
And you lose. All right, so there's money. I mean, Oklahoma State, you're going to throw that traditional way. It seems like you're going to be losing money.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. These rights they're hiring to make all these decisions about college sports.
It's stupid.
Need to get back to basics.
Oh yeah. Well, somebody has accused the Alabama Crimson Tide of tampering, especially when Alabama got Graham Nicholson, the 2023 Lou Graza Award winner from Miami, Ohio. Miami, Ohio head coach Chuck Martin accused Kalen DeBoer of tampering. I'm just kind of like, no, that there's no tampering.
No, whatever he's saying that we stole illegal, did all this illegal. Number one, did he enter the portal? Yes. Okay. Number two. All right. And he's trying to increase his, professional portfolio. So would you? All right. So like me, I played at Delta State University in Cleveland, Mississippi. All right. Would I rather play? What's going to increase my portfolio? Playing at Delta State or transferring and playing at Alabama?
Yeah.
Duh. Not complicated. I mean, is he what? I mean, I'm not nothing against Miami of Ohio, nothing against them, but I mean, compare them to Alabama. I mean, if he wants to increase his, and that's what they're all about now, increasing the big almighty dollar. I mean, he made the smart decision. Wouldn't you, if you had all this skill and was good at your profession, wouldn't you want to maximize it? Yeah. I mean, it's lunacy. You don't have to. Alabama does not have to, do recruit and steal players. Come on.
No. Yeah, because it's like me personally, I'm just like, if you feel like this team is not the best place for you, you stick with it. But don't be like JT Daniels about it. Don't be like JT Daniels where it's like one little thing and you're out of here, man.
Yeah, yeah. They've created this monster where kids can jump into the portal every year, throughout their career. If he's trying to maximize his potential in the NFL, hooray for him. They created the system and he's using it for his benefit. It's not his fault. And to allege that Alabama stole him or did something illegal, are you kidding me? I mean, Miami, Ohio, Alabama. Where would I go? Not a hard decision.
Yeah, it's just good grief.
Yeah, and whoever the coach is there, I don't know who the coach is there. Come on, coach, you can do better. Get you another kicker.
Yeah, well,
you did some recruiting. You got a good one there. Get you another one.
Well, we'll wait and see what happens with this whole business with Chuck Martin at Miami, Ohio, giving out those accusations on Alabama.
It will go nowhere. He's just making a fool out of himself. Come on.
But I'm hoping for their sake they move on to Northwestern. So,
yeah, if he wants to move on up in the ladder or whatever, he needs to check the thinking on that one right there, because that's going to come back to haunt him.
Yeah. So there we go. We'll see.
Comments like that never go away. And the way he said it, I saw the tape, the way he said it, come on, that never goes away.
Well, I'm just curious to see how it'll end. But speaking of new eras, Kalen DeBoer is going to be starting the new era in Tuscaloosa on Saturday. And I watched a little bit of his press conference, and I got to say, he handled himself very well. He did all right.
Yeah, I mean, that guy seems to be a class act. Today's college football coach is pretty much needs to be an NFL coach. He may wind up one day being in the NFL, but you got to deal with, trades, you got to, contracts, you got to deal with all of that. If he's able to, I mean, college football coaches now are just protege NFL coaches, because the way they've got the format, the model set up now, I mean, you got to treat your players like the NFL. I mean, draft and recruit. I mean, not recruit. I don't even know if you have to recruit high school players anymore, do you? I mean, the way it's set up, I wouldn't recruit high school players. Would you? I'd go straight to the juniors and seniors, and all these people have experience. Why recruit a high school, just brand new?
So, I would just make sure I recruit everybody. Still recruit the high schoolers and recruit the juniors and seniors. Make it feel like they're going to benefit the best. Because, we can all say the right things, but let's be real. Like, a lot of us want to do what's best for us and what's best for those around us, of course. That's what you got to do with the players. You got to make it seem like they're going to be okay. You got to convince them that this school is the best of the best, and you will be able to go to this place, go to that place.
Yeah.
From me.
Well, I'm gonna predict this. I'm making a lot of predictions, but who cares? But you will find a time in the future that on a college roster, there will not be one single freshman.
No.
There will not be. Why would you recruit somebody that in a year from now, what is going to happen is all the recruiting is going to be for sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Why would you can build if it's all free agency, you can build your team from experienced players. Why would you waste whatever on a high school recruit that has no experience when you got a sophomore, junior, senior? It's got I mean, you will find, I'll predict another 10 years, you will find a team will win the national championship without a freshman.
Oof.
You don't need them anymore.
No.
So, way to go, NCAA. Y'all, you rocket scientists, ruining the game, ruining it.
Ruined.
So, yeah, Coach DeBoer, I mean, great. I think he's going to do a good job. And I hope, the Bama Nation, gives him a chance. And, I mean, it's a new paradigm. I mean, the paradigm has shifted. I mean, it's not like when Coach Saban came in, Coach Bryant came in, that you could depend on freshmen and they would play the 4 years. Now it's just shifting. 1 year you're going to be great. The next year you're going to be terrible, because it's all about money. It's all about me and mine and where I can make the most money. You can't blame the kids.
No, because I mean, yeah, that's everybody right there. Where it's like, all the players, like, I got no issue with thinking about what you got to do for you and those around you. Where it's like, I remember years ago where I used to be in a bad attitude because a player sat out a bowl game. But then as I've gotten older and I started making my own money, and it's like, I see where they're going with it. I mean, you got like millions and millions on the line. Of course, I'm going to sit out the bowl game. I'm not going to play in the Sun Bowl or the Albuquerque Bowl.
20 years ago, that was never a question. But these rocket scientists that are running the NCAA, look what they've done to it. No allegiance, no anything, all about me, all about the almighty dollar. It's a shame. I mean, it won't last. It's a bubble and then you're asking fans to spend. I mean, and tickets today are outrageous. Then concessions, and it's outrageous to even afford to go to a game anymore.
Oh yeah. Well, you touched upon Kalen DeBoer just now, and how we're hoping that Tuscaloosa will give him a chance. Well, I know that some people, close to us, they were like saying, "Oh, well, he's not even from here. That's not a good thing." It's like, I'm sorry, but have you watched Washington football? Have you watched Fresno State football under Kalen DeBoer? I mean, Fresno State hired him when he was the Indiana offensive coordinator. You're good if you're at Indiana and somebody's hiring you to be their head coach. And Indiana's usually not all that good in college football. But
yeah, the deal there too is, I mean, the hypocrisy is, all right, so he doesn't have any Alabama roots or connection, that kind of stuff. Well, how many players on the Alabama roster have Alabama roots? Remember back in the old days, you'd say at least 60% more of the players on Alabama or Auburn were from Alabama. Not anymore. So what do you care? I mean, it's all about money. What do you care? As long if you win, and everybody's rah rah rah. But who cares if he's not from Alabama? That dynamic went out decades ago.
Well, one coach, and I know this is like before either of our times, or even our parents' time, or grandparents, great grandparents' time. But when Alabama hired Frank Thomas to be the Nets head coach after Wallace Wade left for Duke in 1931, Alabama hired Frank Thomas, and there were a lot of people in Alabama that were like, "Hey, he's not even from the South." Yeah, but here's the thing. He played for Newt Rodney at Notre Dame in the roaring 20s. So,
and probably most of the fans did not sit in on the interview. I mean, the interview, I've sat in with principals and, you know, as an educator and stuff like that. And I've been on committees that have interviewed teachers and stuff like that. When you interview somebody and you sit there and you hear them speak, and I mean, that right there says so much. And so I'm sure Alabama didn't just go out to Washington to hire this guy. They wanted to talk to him, listen to him. You know, and you learn so much, that first impression. So it makes an impact, and I'm sure that influences most employers and that kind of stuff. And you talk to him. I haven't talked to him. I haven't met him, but I've listened, and he speaks very well. And who cares where he's from? If he knows what he's doing, which he seems to know because he's been very successful, that's all you need. That's the bottom line. Bottom line.
Well, oh yeah. Yeah, because I mean, we've looked at so many coaches that have had like past ties to this school or that school. That doesn't automatically mean they're going to succeed.
Well, Wallace Wade left Alabama and went where? To Duke.
Yeah.
And the stadium's named after him.
Oh yeah. He was a winner.
I had a quarterback that I coached, played quarterback at Duke, and went to several of his games and at Wallace Wade Stadium, and it's a beautiful place and everything. And it is what it is. I mean, you hire the best, and sitting down talking to somebody one-on-one is the most important factor.
No worries, folks. The internet will be right back. It's doing the mess around with our good buddy Johnny. You're back.
Yeah, and we had a little spiral little thing of going nowhere.
Well, those things happen for sure.
Yeah, connections. I'm at a Hilton here, so I'm hoping the connection's pretty good. I paid for it.
Well, we'll be seeing the first game without Coach Saban, of course, this Saturday on ESPN, 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Time. And guess what Western Kentucky did hours before we started the first episode? Named their starting quarterback. So I'm kind of curious to see what TJ Finley's going to bring out. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well, the thing I've learned about these type of games is that they're very unpredictable. All right, like Florida State and Georgia Tech, everybody goes in, they do all their analysis, but the bottom line is, you know, when the kickoff, when ball, you know, when play starts, that's the bottom line. And most of the time, teams like Western Kentucky are a lot better. I mean, they're not the elite Power Five or whatever they have now, but they'll bring something to the table, and they'll compete, and they'll usually surprise you. I remember Coach Saban, I think he said last Saturday that, you know, playing those type of schools was always a risk. It wasn't like you could feel comfortable playing them. And so, and then you run the risk, you know, somebody gets hurt. And so Western Kentucky is a good program, and they'll put up a fight. It will not be easy. It'd be nice if it is. Sometimes we get lucky and that happens, but historically, Western Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, all of those teams, Murray State, they'll bring something to the table.
Oh yeah, I mean, looking at Western Kentucky, I'm surprised they weren't added to the AAC with the way their football program has been over the past decade. That's just one thing I've been surprised about.
Yeah, well, that comes down to also the administration and the powers that be, and of the other schools. They may not have wanted them, you know, in there and saying, oh, they bring a little more than what we want. So you never know, but they're a good program. Bottom line is they're a good program. They will compete. It will not be easy. Maybe, I don't know, but if I were going in and historically looking at Western Kentucky, I would not take anything for granted. No. Games can go south in a hurry. Ask Michigan when Appalachian State rolled into Ann Arbor.
Or
Yeah,
basically ever since then, like any Power 5 team that's gone against Appalachian State. So
yeah.
I bet we're gonna see. I bet we're gonna see Appalachian State once or twice on Steve Merrill's Under the Radar pits for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd never count them out. I'm not too much. I don't really go for the spread. I think that's too risky betting or whatever. But that's a team you don't want to screw around with on spreads.
No.
Historically.
Mm-mm. Austin says Texas A&M knows all too well.
Yeah,
I think Clemson's going to feel the same way, DJ. I think they're going to be feeling the same way. They're going to be like, "Oh, we dodged a bullet."
exactly.
But looking at Alabama, Western Kentucky, what's your prediction from that game?
I think Alabama, in the end, Alabama will win. Um, I think it'll be a challenge to start with, and then of course, obviously, it's whoever makes the first mistake. A lot of times, it comes down to that. I mean, that to me, whoever makes the first mistake, that kind of sets the tone for the game. If you're an underdog and the team predicted to win, makes the first mistake. Now we feel like we're in the game and that kind of stuff. If you're, the underdog and you make the first mistake, then you start panicking and that kind. So I think it comes down to the tone. To me, is the first, whoever's going to make that first mistake.
Our buddy Austin has a 31-17 prediction. And Ryan Flanagan says 44-24. I'm going to go ahead and say.
What's the spread on what's Las Vegas saying? I didn't get a chance to look today. It changes all the time. I kind of wait to the last minute.
Well, our
I'm gonna say
Tide.
it's a pretty good spread. So I think I would, if I were playing Western, if I were betting, I would bet against the spread. I don't think it's going. I think there's a lot of things that have to blend in and gel. So I would bet against the spread, but I'm not. The total points, 60, 70, whatever. I would just look at the spread and probably lean against it. I think.
Well, according to ESPN Bet, it's 31.5. So it's
okay.
Yeah. Over under is 59.5 for the total.
So 31.59.
Yep.
That's interesting.
So
somebody with a little more mathematical and know-how is going to have to. But I wouldn't trust the spread. First games are just notorious. I mean, look at Florida State, Georgia Tech.
Oh yeah.
Too many things.
Well, everybody brings their A game against Blue Bloods, and especially teams that are defending conference champions.
Yeah, and Alabama, I don't know. We'll find out with Coach DeBoer, but Coach Saban never ran up the score, and he did not do that kind of stuff. I have not looked in Coach DeBoer's background to see spreads and stuff like. I'm sure people in the know-how have looked that up and seen historically, that kind of stuff. But with Coach Saban, you didn't do that kind of stuff. Expect him to run it up, and Coach Bryant didn't do that. He'd pull the starters, he'd tone it down. So we'll see.
Me personally, if somebody's like running their mouth to you, you run up, score on them just to show them.
Yeah, so Steve Spurrier, it's not our job to quit scoring. It's your job to stop us from scoring.
Yep.
Oh, Spurrier, there's you a character.
Man, he is missed dearly.
Yeah. Hey, I got a little something for everybody. Coach Spurrier, Steve Spurrier, won. He was Heisman Trophy winner. He was the first pick of the San Francisco 49ers. Okay, and I want to say it was back then it would have been the 67 draft because it was in the spring. And guess who the second pick was? for the San Francisco 49ers.
Who was that?
My father-in-law, Wayne Trimble.
Nice.
Was the second pick, okay, after Steve Spurrier.
There we go.
There you go. So anyway, but yeah, Coach Spurrier, you got to stop us from scoring. But, Coach Stallings, people like that old school, they wouldn't. But people betting money, that's what you got to think about. What's the habit here? Do they leave in the starters? Do they keep throwing it down the field, or do they shut it down? So.
Well, for me, I've looked at the spread, and I've decided it's going to be a 45-17 victory for the Alabama Crimson Tide.
17? You're not real excited about the Bama D, huh?
I feel like Western Kentucky will try to make it a little bit exciting, and we'll just wait and see.
Well, no doubt on that, but
it won't be like Alabama, South Florida last year. There's no worries there because we have no road now.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna tell anybody watching this: when you start making these bets and making these predictions, you always go down the trenches. You got to look at the offense, defensive lines of both teams. I don't care who your quarterback is. I know they get all the glory, running backs, receivers, and stuff like that. But those guys down there in the trenches, the offense and defensive line, you got to look at those matchups because those are the guys that are going to decide the game. Okay, so if it's me predicting the score, and I never do, I don't consider myself that whatever. Prognosticating ability, but if I were going to do it, I'd look at what are the offensive line, defensive line matchups. Yeah. That's where I'd start the predictions, and that's where I bet my money.
Yeah, you always have to look at the O line and the D line because if you don't, it's going to bite you. It will bite you. You can't just only look at the star QB or the star receivers or the star running back. You can't just only look at offense, and you can't just only look at defense. You got to look at all the aspects of the team, and you got to look at the special teams as well. You cannot leave out a single detail.
No. But if that's where my route is, I'm going to look at that front line on both sides of the ball, and that's where I start. So anyway, but there's smarter people out there than me.
Well, I will say, at least we're not predicting Texas A&M to win the national championship in 2022 like Desmond Howard on College Game Day.
Yeah, Texas A&M ain't gonna win it. Not then and not this year. But anyway.
But yeah, we got the rest of the season after Western Kentucky. So South Florida is coming to our backyard on ESPN for week 2. And
yeah, you remember that old AD? Was it South Florida? That old was a woman. She was president or an AD or something, and she said, they had a coach, and do you remember that? She said, made some quote about "Eat your heart out, Alabama," because the coach at the time decided to stay at South Florida. Do you remember that? Am I wrong on that one?
No. Yeah, Jim Leavitt. Yeah, that was Jim Leavitt who didn't leave for Bama.
Yeah. And that, I don't know who the lady was. Eat your heart out, Alabama. I'd sit there and I was like, oh my gosh. What was that guy thinking?
Oh, man.
I'd have jumped on that.
Oh,
but yeah, I see South Florida, Wisconsin. That'll be interesting. After the first 2 games, we'll have a little idea about Wisconsin, Georgia. I can't predict that one right now. Got to see them play. Got to see, some film, stuff like that before you make any, kind of prediction. And then you got Vanderbilt, South Carolina. I mean, all of these are tough. I mean, there's nothing easy, about it. That's the nature of the SEC. Like I told you the last time, I just, the end of the season, some of these, Georgia playing Mercer or Georgia Tech in the season, and then, And then Alabama, the SEC's got to look at that championship game. If they're going to a whatever playoff system, is the championship game necessary anymore? Because you're asking to play another extra game. So there you go, losing money. You rocket scientists that know everything.
Yeah.
If I was the SEC, I wouldn't have a championship game.
Yeah. I just feel weird about like LSU Oklahoma rivalry week, but that's another time for another day. So it's like I think the Oklahoma people on the Voice of College Football, they've heard me have my venting sessions on the chat enough. But it will be fun watching Alabama Oklahoma and Alabama LSU on November. But for right now, I'm sticking with a 10-2 season, which is enough to get into the playoffs.
And and everybody's. I'm really not. I haven't bought into this Georgia. I heard Coach Saban and all the guys there on ESPN Saturday making their predictions for the following week, and got to go through Georgia. I'm not sold on Georgia. I mean, really, I'm not. I mean, just all of a sudden, just outright label that kind of stuff. I'm not buying into the Georgia hype. I think
they obviously don't know when to call in an Uber driver.
I'm sorry, what?
I said they obviously don't know when to call in an Uber driver when they're drunk.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, wow. That one's interesting. But, I'm not falling into this Georgia, until something, Georgia's the team to beat. I'm not buying. In the SEC, every year is different. What was that? Burrow and LSU came out of nowhere. Nobody predicted that. And so sometimes it's going to be a team like that nobody predicts. But just off the cuff, I saw everybody on ESPN predicted Georgia to win the national championship. I ain't buying that, not 1 minute.
Oh, yeah.
So Georgia, prove me wrong, and I'll eat crow, that kind of stuff. But just to label it across the board, I ain't buying. I ain't going there. The portal, everything changes. Mesh. Nobody predicted Michigan, Washington last year.
No.
So it's all different. And then Alabama whooping Georgia in the SEC championship game. So there you go.
It was probably last season. I thought the national title would be Michigan, Georgia. But I was thinking that Georgia was going to win the SEC again, but then Michigan was going to come in and get revenge in the national title against those Bulldogs. But they had that we beat Ohio State, beat Georgia energy. It helped. It helped them quite a lot. They had it on their little billboards, which that helped them.
Well, I'm gonna make this prediction. I think it's gonna be a down year for Michigan.
Oh,
I think there's a lot of stuff going on around that campus, and the football program and what's going on. And I mean, Harbaugh. I mean, you win the national championship, and then you're gone. Something's going on there at Michigan. So we'll see. We'll see.
Oh, we're gonna know quite a lot on Wolverine on the special edition of the Michigan show on Michigan football at the Voice of College Football from John D'Animo as he gives his take. And I'm going to tell you right now, that will be a wild ride. And our buddy Sports Talk with Austin says winner of Georgia Alabama will probably be playing in the SEC title game. Agreed. And people tend to forget that Alabama's got a winning record against Georgia since Kirby Smart became the head coach of Georgia. Georgia won that one time in the national title of 2022. That was it.
Yeah, a big interception at the end of the game with Bryce Young, that kind of stuff. That Alabama they were in a good position. They let it slip away there late, which they did against Michigan too. So, it is what it is. But I'm not buying in the Georgia. Until somebody beats Georgia, they're the pick. I don't believe that a lick. So, all right.
Yeah. Well, our buddy Ralph Wolf says South Florida President Judy Greenshaft is one that said, "Eat your
heart out, Alabama."
Oh man.
when I read or heard that, I was like, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?"
Well, and
Where
Case
is
Jones,
that guy now? Where is that guy, Jim Levitt?
I don't know. He's out drinking something in the port.
Well,
somewhere.
maybe one of our viewers will pop it in. Where is that guy? Boy, he missed a chance, and why that one's. Well, but
Yeah.
Alabama's not for everybody. To be a success at Alabama, you got to be a hard ASS. You got to have I mean, the power brokers and the people with the money and stuff like that. You got to be able to, Saban came in. I'm going to do it my way. I'm not listening to you. I'm not here for your money. I don't care. You can take your money and shove it. And the coaches that came in during that period of power struggle back in the early 2000s. I thought Mike Shula would be great and everything, but I think he catered to the power brokers. What was that, Mike Price? He never even made it.
Oh
But if you're
yeah,
going to come in
he
and
was
not
at a
run,
strip club.
oh yeah, if you're not going to come in and run it the way you want to run, Gene Stallings, look, he didn't play games. Coach Bryant, you look at that. Then Bill Curry, I don't know. Curry was a weird one right there. Yeah. He just wasn't a fit. I think he had his own way about things, but I don't think he was a very good fit. But these other ones that didn't have the whatever, I mean, you come in Alabama, hey, it's my way. I don't care what you're going to do. I know you got to please. You can't turn everybody off, but I mean, you got to play a little ball. But if you're going to, let money influence what's going on in the program and giving access and that kind of stuff, it's a recipe for failure. So, where Lovett? Did we see where he is?
He was at SMU as a defensive coordinator in 2021. And I'm guessing he's retired since then. So
I figured you was going to say Bucksnort Technical College out of Tennessee.
Well, I know he got fired.
He's not there.
I know he got fired. I believe it was 3 days after. It was like the day after the national championship between Alabama and Texas, because there was a thing where somebody said they slapped a South Florida player when they played Louisville.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I remember. Yeah. Wow, that's way back. Was it what? 08?
2009.
2009. Yeah.
It was like, man, the season ended and somebody got fired, and this was a couple weeks after the Mike Leach ordeal with Craig James' son. I will say though, Craig James.
I miss old Coach Leach. That guy was one of a kind. That guy was a good coach. A lot of people don't realize how good a coach he was. And I'll tell you, the bottom line is when your players love you, that's a good marker right there.
He's not even in the Hall of Fame yet. It's insane.
I'm sorry?
He's not even in the College Football Hall of Fame yet. That's insane.
He'll eventually be in there. But that guy was a good coach.
I think it's gonna be exactly like the Reggie Bush Heisman, where he gets his Heisman back, and then when Johnny Manziel earlier this year went on Club Shay Shay with Shannon Sharp, and it was days or a week after, he was yammering on Twitter saying, "Hey, Reggie Bush needs his Heisman back." And then what happens on a slow news day? Reggie Bush gets his Heisman back. Now I just want to see if USC gets their wins back.
Yeah. You get the Heisman, might ought to get the wins and all that goes along with it, that kind of stuff. Whatever happened with OJ's Heisman? Did they take it away from him or?
No, it's still there.
I always thought that was interesting, Reggie Bush and OJ, but anyway, that's a topic for a different day.
Oh yeah. And before we wrap this show up to go on and get ready for Longhorns Live and the rest of the lineup, Sports Talk with Austin asked us our early thoughts on the Missouri-Alabama game.
It's going to be a good one, but I'll take Alabama. I think it'll be a close one. I really do. Coach
Drinkwitz.
Yeah, he does a good job out there. A lot of respect for that guy. That's always been a good program. I remember when Coach Bryant, we used to go out there in Missouri and play, and it was always tough. So yeah, I think that one will be a tough one. Well, let's get through the first 3-4 games, and then we'll know a little more about the teams. But going in historically, I would say that's going to be a tough one. Not easy.
True. And as we wrap up the first edition of Crimson Tide Live, and it's gonna be what are your final thoughts going into week one, and where can people find you?
Well, I'm right now, as far as being out there, Facebook, but I'm in classrooms all over the South. I do, the ACT work and other things. And so I'm kind of on the road. For a lot of you, you'll find me in a hotel room sometime, and other times I'll be at home. But I'm kind of just all over traveling, doing a lot of work with regard to being an educator, teacher, coach. Being in classrooms, hoping to help kids, that kind of stuff. I'm all over the place. I really don't have, a lot of time with regard to being out in the social networking and Instagram or anything like that. So, but I'll be here, and hopefully we'll have more conversations and have some fun.
Oh,
Looking
man.
forward to it.
Oh yeah, Monday afternoons are gonna be wild, especially right
Yeah.
here on SEC at the Voice of College Football and Alabama football at the Voice of College Football. And of course, you can find me on YouTube at Jackson Johnson 979, where I'm 134 subs away from 500. And you can also find me on X at Jackson09960335, and on Instagram and Threads at Jackson Johnson 543908, where I give my takes on what's going on in college football, NFL, and I give you some of the latest updates on what I'm doing.
Mr. Genius. Genius guy right there.
I appreciate it, man. And
you got it.
Thank y'all for a wonderful show. And up next is Longhorns Live from Matthew Miller as he gives the preview of the Texas-Colorado State matchup. And I'll tell you, it's going to be not a good game, but still, though, it's still going to be fun seeing our friend Matthew Miller giving out the preview. And after that, we're going to see Mark Rogers and Brian Driscoll at Irish Breakdown discussing, and a friend from Texas A&M discussing their take on Notre Dame, Texas A&M going into week one. I know they're going to be discussing a little bit about Riley Leonard and Mike Elko going against one another. I mean, you talk about things being awkward. Now that is awkward. Like last year, they're upsetting Clemson together at home, but now they go against one another. And after that, our buddy John D'Animo in the chat. Check him out as he gives his take on the NCAA notice on Connor Stallions and how it's going to affect Michigan. Are they going to get punished? Are they not getting punished? Is it right? Is it wrong? Do you want Michigan to get punished? Do you not want them to be punished? You decide. All right there on Michigan football, Voice College Football. And of course, check out our buddy Mark and TJ, not TJ, Tim and Matt Zemek at Trojans Wire as they have a special guest, Matt Moscana, as they discuss the USC LSU matchup on Sunday, September 1st. And it'll be a wild
That'll
ride.
be a good one. That'll be a good one.
Oh, yeah. And of course, the Tuesday lineup is huge as well. From Wolverines Live from our friend TJ Ronan and our friend John D'Animo, and the Nebraska show with Justin Adams, and Hawkeyes Live from Iowa Football, Voice College Football from Mark and Corey Brada, and Duts Live from Exploring with Ben and Sam and Spaz. And don't forget the College Football Morning Show to start off your day at 9 a.m. Central Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And that's going to be a fun one. Stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss it. And of course, let's get SEC at the Voice of College Football to 1,000 subs, as is 25 subs away. And we got to get Alabama at the Voice of College Football to 2,500 subs. Let's get it there. And roll Tide. And stay safe. Stay cool. Have a pleasant Monday.
Amen, brother.